Okay. Well, I'm sure others will hop in, but I would like to just go ahead and get ourselves started here because we have a good little bit to go through here. I feel like it's some stuff that'll be worth both talking through as well as hearing, discussion, any feedback, thoughts as we go through it. Want to make sure we have time for that. So trust everybody's doing well. Okay, hold on. Let me make sure this is recording. Is it? Okay, yes, it looks like it is. Awesome. Okay, recording, good. All right, this is class two, week two, I should say. Um, I appreciate getting those feedback forms from all of you. So thank you for taking the time. All of you who did that, and I imagine all of you who are here at the moment did. Um, Thank you for that. Those are a lot of really thoughtful comments there that really allowed me to have a better understanding, one, of how you've experienced it, and two, gave me a pretty good picture as to where we're at the moment, and maybe some things that I can tighten slash clarify slash maybe explain a little bit better as we move forward. But on the whole, I was really pleased to see that um, it felt like it was resonating on the whole with all of you. So I'm really glad to hear that. And yeah, as I noted, looking forward to seeing the ways in which it continues to shift or open up different experiences or awareness, both as we go through class and also in your own practice throughout the week. Before I begin, I'd like to just pray here. Um, Mr. Robert Lee, would you mind praying for us as we start class?
Glad to do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, let's pray. Almighty Heavenly Father, we thank you so much that we have this opportunity to come together and talk about, study this very important topic of peace. Father, I pray that you would bless Ryan as he facilitates and as he shares with us the things that he has prepared. I pray that our hearts would be open and receptive to what you, through your Spirit, intend for us to receive and ways that we can benefit, ways that we can experience more fully the peace that you offer and the blessings that come from that. Thank you for the technology that allows us to do this from such a variety of sites to be able to come together and to experience this. So we just ask your blessings upon our study tonight. May all be for your glory and praise. Truly, may your will be done. And thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate that.
Mhm. Yes.
Um, Before we begin here, does anyone have any either comments or questions on what you were thinking about through the week or as it related to the forums? If anything that would be helpful for me to note just at the moment. If not, we'll just move right on in. So I'll just open it up. Okay. Awesome. Perfect. Let's get right on in. So if you want to open up your week two notes, I'm sure you saw it in that email. Um, let's pull that up and get started here. So week two is all about practicing, becoming aware of, and practicing what it feels like to allow instead of forcing, resisting, shoulding. Okay, those are the three primary words I'm gonna work with here. We could insert any number of variation of those, but I feel like those are the clearest for us to be able to work with here. So, key truth for today and for the rest of the course. This came as a pretty in a way mind shattering truth to me because it illuminated so many things when I learned this in my own experience, and see how this feels for you. Forcing an outcome. So anything that feels like this must happen, I need this to happen. This better happen. I'm going to do everything I can to make this happen. Anything that feels like that, or resisting an outcome. So this can't happen. I need to avoid this at all costs. I can't let this happen. Whatever it is, anything that feels like that is interpreted by your body, by your nervous system as danger. So the key point there, and just to allow that to land, is anytime in any moment, but let's just say in this moment, let me just kind of surmise how we can tend to feel. I think just generally in our culture, how we can tend to feel, even in our church Christian culture, but certainly culture at large. At any given moment, I think any of us can have the feeling of, I'm not where I want to be. I probably should be doing more. My finances are not where I want them to be. By all accounts, I have to avoid fill in the blank, bankruptcy, losing my job, something happening with a relationship. Um, I'm I'm not. My relationships are not where I want them to be. My marriage is not where I want it to be. I need to make sure I don't do anything wrong so that whoever blank is not angry with me. I need to make sure I figure out what I need to do for insurance, for savings, for investing, for finances, yada, yada, yada. I mean, like, are we together? Like, just that right there, that was 8 things just right off the bat that I'm either resisting or forcing. And those are all just very normal cultural things, right? I think every human in my square radius here in Lubbock is thinking something like that, at this moment throughout this day. Is that probably fair? Are we somehow on the same boat? Yeah. Okay. So what's worth noting here is that okay, thank you. Yep, thumbs up are awesome. What's worth noting here, okay, and Leah noted, I'm thinking my nervous system has been feeling in danger for the last 26 years. Yep, 100%. Leah, I completely agree. That was the awareness that I had when I stumbled onto this insight. It was an immediate feeling of, oh my goodness, that makes so much sense. It makes so much sense as to why I'm doing so many things, and maybe this will resonate with some of you who do a lot of things. I am doing all that I'm being told to do with trying to figure out finances. I'm being told all that I need to do with my body, with eating right, and like breath work and yoga and like resting well. It's like I'm doing everything. I'm doing all the right things, but the underlying motif out of which I'm doing all of these is avoidance, resistance, shoulding, anything like that, is keeping this underlying state of stress guiding all the things that I'm doing. So, in a very real way, thanks, Lydia, happens to you all the time. In a very real way, all of the things that I'm doing, it is not the what of what we do, it's how we do it. So that's the bottom line in my body. Okay, and Donnie noted something here as well. Okay, sorry, let me pull up chats. Tested with all that I have going on in my world. 100%. Yep, I know. We all are, isn't it? I mean, this is just the state of the world. This is the state of where we're at. So let's be honest with ourselves and kind and gentle to ourselves and say, we not just personally have a lot going on, the world has a lot going on. And it's very unfortunate if our nervous systems are tied to what the world has going on, because I don't think the world's not going to have a lot going on anytime soon, you know? So that's unfortunate. And sorry, did somebody have their hand up? Okay. I didn't want to miss it if they did, but
It's fine.
oh
You're
yeah, go
pretty
ahead.
much you're pretty much hitting on everything that I was going to go with and say. Anyways, this world has always been the same. It's not going to change. Not everybody sees, feels, thinks, empathizes, sympathizes. Our whole systems are all completely different. Even as Christians, we're all different. And God formed us in the womb and made us all uniquely different. And it's us getting in the way of ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
I know I absolutely before I started these classes. I mean, I'm still living in anxiety right now, and I'm trying not to. I'm terrified. I mean, with look, I can be open with other Christians and with random strangers that I can't be with the closest people around me because it terrifies me oh my God, how are they going to respond? It's just going to come back on me. Everything's going to be my fault. And then it's just not going to get better. And I constantly live in that.
Mm,
But I know that if I have to hold on to Christ. I just have to.
hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Thanks for that. Yeah, we're with you in that. Um, and we'll move towards, yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Donnie. We'll move towards some more of that, especially as it relates to relationships, relates to perception, people's perception of us. We'll get to that even more so as we move forward here. But thanks for sharing that there. Um, so here, right back to the notes. So why the nervous system reacts this way? So another truth that's worth paying attention to here, and I know a lot of y'all, probably all of you, probably already know this also, but just allow the full weight of this to hit you. The nervous system, famously, and same with neurological pathways, the brain as well, cannot tell the difference between that which is so-called real as it relates to being in the physical, this physical domain, as it were. It cannot tell the difference between that, so a threat that is so-called real, whether it be physical or emotional, and that which is a mental or imagined threat. It can't tell the difference. It will do the exact same thing, whether it's made up, whether it's 100% made up, or it's somebody standing in front of you with a gun. It will do the same thing either way. You can envision somebody standing in front of you, and now, depending on the quality of your imagination, as it were, one could say, okay, bad example there, because there is a certain element of someone standing in front of you with a gun that would be a bit much. Yeah, that's why somebody said avoid horror movies, very understandably. But the what is interesting and worth noting here is let's take all the various things that really affect our day to day, and it's what are people going to think about me, and are people going to appreciate me? Am I going to feel validated, appreciated? Am I going to make anything of myself? Am I going to have my job by next month? Imagine, I mean, think of all these scenarios that we play out each day, and very quickly, the games that we play are these circular, imagined narratives of whether or not things are going to go well or not. And of course, what we tend to do is because it's a very good protective mechanism, we tend to move right towards how everything is not going to go well. Most likely because there's a part of us wanting to protect us against those things not going well. So it's like, hey, if you go ahead and just prepare for all the worst things, then at least you won't be blindsided. And of course, it doesn't care that this is going to be really painful for your body and your nervous system. It just doesn't want you to be blindsided, right? We'll talk about that more next week. John, do you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I believe in the secular world, the system is just against us. Fight, fight, fight. Made for us to never get ahead and never have any worries or troubles. It's kind of like Satan's just kind of going all around the world doing his work. And I'll tell you the truth. Bottom line is the only thing that's ever saved me is Jesus. Bottom
Yep.
line.
Yep.
And I'm
True.
just I'm older. I'm just biding my time here on earth, dealing with the secular world, and hoping that when I stand in front of Jesus, He opens the door for me to eternal life. That's my hope.
Yeah, got it. Thanks, John. Yeah. Brock, just noting here, you've been shot at, and it isn't near as scary as trying to share my emotions. Wow, that's really interesting. That's good. Thanks. Um, Here, I'm gonna just keep going here. I appreciate what you shared right there, John. But if I can also add, what's worth noting here is, and I mean this, just to get the full force of what I'm saying. Now, there's nuance to this, but in a real way, it doesn't matter what the world's doing out there. It doesn't matter because you hear what we're saying. It's your internal relationship to yourself and to the world that matters. Because do you see how I can decide whether to be in a completely chronic, stressed out state, or I can decide not to? I can decide to be okay. I can decide to be at peace. I can just decide to allow whatever's going on out there to go on out there. So in a very real way, and this is what we talked about last week, the outside in approach that we've learned our whole lives, that my internal sense of safety, stability, peace is dictated upon what the world out there is doing. That is not true, it turns out. It turns out my internal state of safety, peace, alignment, you remember reunification or non-fragmentation, so wholeness, is 100% dictated by how I am choosing to relate to, how my mind is relating to what is going on outside. So we'll say that more clearly in a second, but I want to just keep planting here that, you know, a lot of our minds, for a lot of us, we've learned for a very long time in our life, a very unfortunate, and I know there's nuance here, but just allow me to say it, a very unfortunate little lie, and it's that how your life goes or how your internal state goes is predicated upon the external circumstances of your life, which it turns out that's not true. Okay, sorry, John, do you have something again?
I may be asking some unfavorable questions here, but is it a method of masking, or can we truly achieve what you're professing?
Hmm. Yeah. Um, yeah. Hard to know how to respond to that because yeah, not only is it possible, but there's a lot of really good examples of individuals who have lived this out really beautifully. Not least of which is Jesus, obviously. And I know we all put him on a pedestal and say, you know, well, he was a little more awesome than we are. Fair enough, but he also said, you know, you're gonna do the same things I'm doing and even greater things. Go and do likewise all the time. So let's remind ourselves that his relaxed, and I actually have that today. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. But his relaxed way of being is to me the indication of not only is this possible, but this is exactly what he was coming to try and tell us. That, hey, you know, and he says this in so many different ways, not least of which is there's tons of issues going on outside the world. You'll have troubles in this world, as he said. But behold, I've already overcome this, and in that real way, because of your internal connection to me, you have also. So which one are you going to stand upon? And which one are you going to allow to drag around how you feel? Now, I'm using words here, but you know, of course, I'm a therapist, so of course, I'm also going to be very gentle in walking through what this feels like for each of us, because we have all learned how to be dragged around by everyone around us and by our financial state and by the world state and by watching the news and the news dictating to us how much fear we need to have because so many things are so terrifying, etc. Now, we've all learned how to do that, and some of us more than others have felt kind of pulled into the chronic states of fear. So this is not as simple as saying, okay, now I choose to no longer have fear, and so now I'm good. These are some pretty habitual ways that we've walked ourselves into for a really long time. So we're going to walk ourselves out of them with the same kind of habitual repatterning. So hear me here. You know, from a you know, I'll say from my therapist side here for a moment. It's okay if this takes a little bit. It's okay if even we feel like we take 2 steps forward and 1 step backward. It's okay when we still have memorized experiences of anxiety within us. It's okay. And that's part of what this is we want to be, really gentle with our bodies and with ourselves. So that's what we're moving into that today. Okay. So when we think things like, I have to fix this can't go wrong, I must not fail, I need to do more, I should be doing more, I should be doing better, they shouldn't be doing that, you know, out there in the world, that other political party, who do they think they are? They can't do that. They shouldn't be doing that. The world needs to be like this. Every single one of those things I hear all day, every day by specifically Christians. And every single one of those things are inducing a chronic fear state. Every single one of them. And of course, Christians, you know, all of us, bless our hearts, we're pretty bad at living in chronic fear states. Let's be honest. And I think we can learn something here by paying attention to like what is actually going on when we hold our judgments and perceptions of the world in this way. Okay, so the body hears, and all of those, we're not safe. I'm not safe. And I'll just like, one of the things that I feel is fair to say is that is the main thing that perks up the ears of the body, of the nervous system. You know, if it's like a little antenna, what perks it up is, oh, you're telling me we're not safe. That is literally what I'm here to do. I'm designed to do this. I love this. This is my show. Get out of the way. I'll save you. Right. And so here comes up all these protective mechanisms, all this armoring, all this intensity of like, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to do more. I'm going to do more yoga. I'm going to do more finance stuff. I'm going to do a 2 jobs. I'm going to go serve at church, and I'm going to do more serving. Whatever it is, it's all the same. It's all coming from that same pattern, that same feeling of stress, of resistance, forcing resistance, shoulding, which is chronically putting us in a state that we, ironically is not where we want to be. Okay, so for example, here you see this, these survival responses, and I didn't put fawn in here, but that equally is there, fawn. So fight, that feels like pushing harder, controlling, striving. Flight feels like avoiding, distracting, staying busy, procrastination. How many of us have experienced any of these? Freezing feels like shutting down, fog, numbing, doom scrolling on the phone, just watching TV all the time, watching news all the time, like all these things. We all do all these things. These are all indications. Like every single one of these is like your mind body shouting to you, hey, something's not quite right. We're not feeling whole and integrated here. And that's why we're doing these things, right? Okay, so it's just giving us little messages. Okay. So here's the little loop. And I thought it might be helpful to put this in here. This is what I go through with most clients, because I feel like this is really crucial to really understand kind of how this came in. The mechanism by which the patterning came in, we have to understand that so that we can understand how to unpattern, for lack of better words. Okay, so the loop kind of goes like this. A forcing or resisting thought appears based upon whatever. Usually it's based upon an external circumstance, which makes sense, given that's how we grew up and that's how we learned to get along and to survive. The threat response activates, understandably. Protection goes up, armoring goes up. Attention then narrows onto the threat. So it sees more of the threat and less of what's outside. So here myopic vision comes in. So attention narrows in to just the threat. Have you ever noticed that when you start worrying about your finances, you have more and more reasons to worry every day? That's because, one, you're allowing yourself to create and recreate the exact same scenario over and over and over again. And you're finding more and more and more data to back up the loop. So then, so more danger seems visible. So then more fear activates, more threat response. Yeah, perfect little self-reinforcing loop here. So then more urgency increases. Oh no, I've got to figure this out even faster. That just heightens everything within the body. So more armoring, more guarding comes up. And then more resisting, more forcing, endless. Lovely fun, lots of fun loop. Okay. Yeah, Brock, you got something.
Yeah. Hey, I just wanted to let you know right now, I appreciate you. I understand that this topic right here, it's so vast, and to try and fit it into a semester is very difficult. And there's going to be a lot of questions for us all still. So I just want you to know that I appreciate you to trying to hit those spots, because I get it. I understand, man. So I just wanted to thank you.
Well, thanks. No, I appreciate that. I received those words 100%. Thanks for that. And I also agree and appreciate that it's slightly foolish to try and squeeze all this into 8-9 sessions. I'm with you on that too. But just by way of like, helping all of us, and myself included, to just be reminded of these things. And like, I know y'all know in general all these things. It's just trying to put them together in a way that can prompt where we're at in our lives right now. Okay, so you can see the diagram right next to it. I feel like that's a little bit more even more helpful than what's on the left side. Survival. Just use these words, and then I'm going to move forward. Survival shapes attention. Survival pattern shapes attention, which means the reticular activating system looking for threat shapes attention. Attention then shapes perception, shapes what I see and how I hear what I see. Perception then shapes my experience of reality. Of course it does, because like what I'm taking in and how I'm perceiving it and how I'm interpreting it now affects my relationship to the world. So now my relationship to the world and to myself and to God are affected by my perception. And then my experience of reality, needless to say, shapes my beliefs. Of course it does. It's going to give me a bunch of data upon which I'm going to solidify thought patterns and beliefs. So now I have several beliefs going that you see the problem already. These beliefs have so much data behind them because they have so much attention, perception, and shaping of reality behind them. So now it has so much data behind them. When you finally land on a belief like I'll never have enough money, it feels like rock, concrete, solid, even though it's completely made up in every single way. And I'll come back to that because I know that sounds like a big statement. But then beliefs reinforce the survival program. And then on we go in a really lovely little circle that will never be broken unless you choose to interrupt it and you choose to break it. Because otherwise, that's just going to keep going, because that's part of how the mind works with the reticular activating system. It absolutely will not stop looking for the threat that you told it to look for. It absolutely will not stop. That's part of its job, right? So that's awesome. And we can say thank you to this part of our mind for looking for all these threats. Thank you. And also find ways to interrupt it, because otherwise all day, every day, it's going to be doing its job. And we're going to be in a chronic state of stress and armoring while it does it. Okay. Hope that makes sense. This is why, to say it in the bold there, this is why anxiety feeds on itself. And sorry, Brock, if you don't mind just putting yours on mute again as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
You're good. You're good. Yep, I know. So I'll repeat this many times in this course, at least this first line, and then I added a little bit more. You cannot solve a survival state problem with survival state logic. And there's a lot of people who have said something very similar to that, but that's where we're at. We're going to have to shift. And this is where, quite literally, the word for metanoia, which is the word for changing your mind that Jesus uses, metanoia is quite literally above mind. It's shifting mind, but it's shifting above the mind that we're currently operating here. So we're going to get to that. Well, that's debatable if we're going to get to that or not, but it's there. If you have a thought on that or a question on it, come back to me on that. So thus, the answer is not to fix the problem. And so really hear me here, please, that the survival mind is seeing. Okay, sorry. Let me restart from the beginning just to make sure this is clear. So coming from, because I feel like this is a really crucial point that's going to carry us through a lot. So based upon that survival patterns self-reinforcing diagram that you can see, you can note with me that the original awareness of attention being focused and tunneled in on a particular perception that will probably be concretized into what we would call a problem. To use really simple language, we would say, I look out and I see a problem. Okay, a number of steps have happened there to allow you to do that, but you look out and you see a problem, which means your attention has narrowed, and it has narrowed so much that you are looking at that from one particular direction, from one perspective, and you are interpreting it in a particular way that allows you to say, I'm looking at that and I'm saying, I don't like that. And that needs to be different than what it is. Okay, are we together thus far? Okay, I know you're already with me. You know where I'm going. You see the big problem. The big problem is now you've concretized a problem that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. You completely made it up because the part of your mind narrowed down on it and had to see it from one perspective, and you forgot that you did that. And so when you saw it from one perspective and then translated what you saw into a problem that you don't like, well, now you've set up a big self-referencing loop that now you're going to spend the rest of your life trying to solve that problem. But you just made up that problem. Because who says that was not supposed to be there? Who says that going exactly as that's going is not how that was supposed to go? Who says? Nobody, except for the part of your mind that didn't like that. Right? So now you just created this problem in your mind that is going to be concretized into a belief, probably. And, take, for example, it is a problem when I have, let me take a classic example that I meet like almost every day with a client. It's, I don't have enough money, and that's a problem. Okay. There are so many problems with that statement that I just made. Number one is, who says that's a problem? Who says the amount of money that you have is a problem? Well, I just don't like it. I wish I had more. Okay, sure. But who says that the amount of money that you currently have in your bank account is not exactly as it needs to be? Well, me. I mean, one, the fear-based me, the fear-based part of me that's like, in order for me to feel protected, I need to have a lot more. And then here's the second problem. What is not enough mean? What does a lot more mean? And I mean, it's very interesting to me that nobody ever really says, I mean, people will say something like, I need $1 million. But actually, if you're being honest with yourself, even then you're going to trap yourself, because that debatably is going to go very far. You know what I mean? And you're going to find all sorts of problems, as we all know. When you get that much, then you have to worry about keeping and protecting that much, etc. So like you just created this problem from this. You've created your own problem from your interpretation of how you're currently perceiving a circumstance. But now, so let me say the obvious thing, and we'll get to it later. It's, what if you were able to zoom out and you were able to look at that perceived, circumstance or that phenomena. If you were able to look at that phenomena that's going on in your life, and you were able to see it from, say, another angle or a different angle, or maybe 3 angles, or maybe just from a zoomed out angle, what if you were able to say, I wonder what that is here to teach me? I wonder what I could learn from that phenomena. I wonder what is wanting to be addressed, healed, opened up within me with this amount of money that I have in my bank account. Like, what if we did something like that? Instead of just creating our own problem by saying, I don't have enough and I don't like it. You know what I mean? Is that resonating thus far? Semi, kind of? Okay, some. Thank you for that. All right. Let's keep going here. And this kind of goes without saying, but I just want to make this uber clear. So what happens when the nervous system is in chronic fight or flight? When we live in ongoing forcing, like this must happen, this can't happen, shoulding, I should be doing more. The nervous system interprets life as continuously unsafe. Okay, so lack of safety can come from anything from like constant urgency, pressure to get it right, fear of failure, unresolved uncertainty, trying to control outcomes, fear of not being good enough, fear of failure. You get my point, like all the things. And then when this becomes chronic, the body stays in fight or flight mode for longer than it was designed to, which is to say, if it's longer than 3 minutes, then it's longer than it was designed to, right? So for a lot of us, as Leah said earlier, for some of us, it's been 26 years. Some of us, it's been 40 years. However, if it's longer than 3 minutes, we have a slight difficulty that's taking place here. Okay, so when the nervous system stays activated, stress hormones like cortisol, adrenaline remain elevated, which for a short period of time is okay, but for a long period of time is not cool with the body. The body is not cool with that. Muscles stay tense, especially in the jaw, shoulders, chest. How many of us hold a lot right up here in our neck, in our shoulders, upper back, lower back? Yep. Breathing becomes shallow and rapid. Probably, heart rate variability starts to be a lot higher. A lot more shallow breaths. Digestion and immune function deprioritized, which is to say everything that is typically needed to utilize for digestion as well as for assistance of all the organs, it goes right to all the armoring of the body so that you can be safe. So you're using vital energy all day, every day, in order to feel safe chronically in your body, which is taking a lot of that energy from your organs and from your digestion. So no wonder now you're going to start to have probably digestion issues / constipation / something with the kidneys. The gallbladder is the thing that goes real quick. All the things. And then not least of which, and I'm sure I get to it at some point, just pain in the body, just aches, pains, sicknesses, all the things. Okay, sleep is disrupted. That gets us into a really nice cycle of, chronic just health issues, as it were. And not there's a lot of factors that go into that, and holistic perspective, there's a whole 100%. there's a whole lot of factors that go into that. Thanks, Donnie. Okay, but just to note, like a lot of this starts from a experience, a choice, a habit that forms of seeing problems everywhere, seeing threats everywhere. Okay, this is why, yeah, all the things. Okay, let's go down to usual long-term results, just to keep going. Needless to say, this leads to exhaustion, burnout, irritability, emotional reactivity, numbness, disengagement, procrastination, loss of joy, curiosity, increased anxiety, depression, difficulty feeling God's presence, feeling joy, love, peace, reliance on control, certainty, avoidance as primary mechanisms in order to handle life. So a lot more life management than it is life enjoyment. Yeah, a lot of people, when we start to feel these things, of course, we can start to feel, okay, there's something wrong with me. Or if we're Christian and like you've been praying about this, my faith isn't strong enough. Why can't I get over my anxiety? I hear that a lot. Why can't I get over this? I've been praying about it. Why can't I move past, whatever it is, feelings of depression? I hear that a lot too. And it's painful. And people just heap then additional amounts of guilt on themselves because they can't get past some of the things that they think, they should be able to get past if they're praying and doing the things that they feel they should be doing. But so here you can see part of the way that we're coming to this, how we do all of the things that we do matters more than what we're doing. The how matters more than the what. Let's just keep that in your mind. How I do breath work matters way more than the type of breath work I do. How I pray, we're going to get to that later. I've already said we have a whole class just on prayer because you can feel with me, I think, right? How this is going to disrupt, and it has to, how we pray. Because how you pray with the disposition that you pray with matters way more than and I know if somebody wants to say something about a theological component of, well, if you pray a lot, then it'll come about. Fair enough, but there's a lot of data that suggests otherwise. But more importantly is coming to God, with God, and God within you, beside you, around you, everywhere, is coming to God with an enormous amount of stress about something, the most appropriate way of handling that? Probably not. One might surmise it's like coming super fragmented and just asking for everything to be glued back together. But if the mechanism of your mind and body is continually fragmenting, then it doesn't do any good to try and duct tape things back together. You know what I mean? Okay. And that's how I feel often. And that's what I've done too. We try and find these different ways of jerry-rigging, ourselves back together, as it were, with it feels like with duct tape, it's like, I'm doing, my routine is crazy, not right now. I'm saying like another part of my life, I go from yoga to breath work to praying to, okay, here, hold on. Jeff's saying that's the point of Jesus' parable, the Pharisee and tax collector. How we pray is more important than what we pray. Thanks for that, Jeff. That's a great insight there. Okay. I completely lost what I was saying, which is cool. I'm just going to take that as a great point to pause for a second to see how we're doing. Okay, Brock, you got your hand up?
So you were talking about jerry rigging, all of the things that are going through or with our lives. So I've been in and out of inpatient facilities for a while. I had struggled with drugs, and I've had a lot of different other struggles. And, I think everybody's addicted to something in life. I think everybody everybody has something that they try to grasp onto, and we just try to make sense of everything. What I've been feeling and thinking more is I'm thinking more, but thinking less, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I'm thinking more like, there's all these situations going on. That this situation is horrible. It hurts. But what's going to come out of it? I can't. I can only try to love, forgive, and not sin. that's where I'm at. That's all I feel like I can do. Because if not, then the jerry rigging, who says we're not? I won't go back to pornography, to drugs, to other things to try and fill that void when Jesus is the only thing that really is going to be the thing that fills that joy. And it has to also be reaching out and talking to other Christians. We have to have fellowship. We have to. If you do not have fellowship and counsel with your Christian brothers and sisters, I feel like the Holy Spirit's going to guide you on the ones to talk to. Because if you're going to feel too judged and feel like you're getting pushed away from the church, I don't think that is where you're going to be. But that could be you're thinking too much too, because you don't want to feel conviction.
Yeah, I gotcha. No, thanks for that, Brock. Appreciate all those thoughts there. Yeah, I feel like some of that will come up here too as well. Thanks for sharing that. Let me hit key points here because I want to get down to these practices today. So here is I went ahead and highlighted this because I've just been feeling this a lot recently. So we're not changing outcomes to feel safe. We've talked about this. We're not outside inning this. We're changing our relationship to outcomes so safety can return or be present or be felt. So in all the things that we're thinking about here, I wonder if we could just allow ourselves to lean towards the awareness. And this is where part of what assists me in this, and I think this will become clear most certainly as we get to next week and the next, but I think all of us have this sense as well. If we, in whatever way you want to think about it, have access to this presence, the Spirit, Advocate, Counselor, the presence of God, Kingdom of Heaven, Basileia within us, then that enables a deeper possibility of a presence that is always safe, that is already here, that is already with us, irregardless of the outcome. So theoretically, and I mean, even just as I say that, that feels pretty obvious, doesn't it? And I know we all know that in some way, and you would articulate that however feels best for you, but you can feel that point. And it's interesting, isn't it? And one might ask, okay, why is it that we as followers of Jesus who know that to be true, who maybe believe that to be true, why is it that that is not the primary way that we live our life on the whole? Why is it that being rooted in that internally guiding, eternally rooted, eternally strong, eternally here, eternally present presence, why is that not enough? Why do we choose to find some other smaller variation of a sense of safety outside of ourselves in whatever form, be it a relationship, be it money, be it success, be it a sense of enoughness in what we do, whatever it is? It's interesting, isn't it? And I feel like this is on the whole, this is what moved me towards this work anyway, for my own work, my own inner work, my own integration. And it was that I realized that I'm largely hypocritical all the time, because I largely don't live out of, and this is like 8-9 years ago when I really had a shift, that I largely don't live out of the mindset, the mind. So like as Paul notes to us in 1 Corinthians, put on the mind of Christ. Okay, Colossians, but also 1 Corinthians, but we have the mind of Christ. That we don't put on the mind that would enable us to move through this world in a very different kind of way. And in a way in which would facilitate a greater and deeper sense, possibly, and not just possibly, a greater and deeper sense of internal safety, such that we don't have to be so reliant upon outcomes. And you notice the felt shift there. If you don't have to change the outcome to feel safe, you can relax. You can like really relax, like deeply relax. And this is where I have Dallas Willard's words here, which in a way is irrelevant, but it's also just worth noting. A lot of y'all know Dallas Willard, and or we can appreciate that he seemed to have been one of those individuals who did what he could in his own mind, in his own heart, to live from this point of view. And one of the things that he noticed when he very famously said, and again, like, I'm not trying to put too much weight on this. It's irrelevant in a way, but it's worthwhile because it highlights something. And it's that if you read the Gospels, read back through and ask yourself, what is the primary quality that Jesus shows to us, Jesus gives to us, that Jesus embodies? And we could all have different answers are great. For Dallas Willard, famously, he just looks so relaxed, so unhurried. There's nothing that's a problem. There's nothing that you have to get to. You have to hurry up and get to before something happens. He's in his own time, and he says that, like, I'm going, I'm being about my Father's business, and I can walk at my own time here. That's important. Like, that just denotes to us a way of being that is inside out. It's being led inside out. It's not being led outside in, as it were. Okay, so this, in that paragraph right there, this is why our practice is to notice, and this is what we did last week, to notice the body, to notice the feelings, where we're at right now in this present moment, which is to say the feeling state, or your nervous system. To notice it first without judgment and interpretation. And we'll get to like why that's the case, but it's just to notice it, just to feel into where you are in this moment. Dropping the urgency, dropping having to name it, having to judge it, or not name it, sorry, because naming is appropriate, having to judge it, dropping the urgency, leaning into the feelings, allowing the feelings to be there. And why? Because they're not dangerous. And we're not used to doing this. We're used to doing everything but this, and allow the body to feel safe in this one present moment, because this one present moment begets the next present moment, which begets the next present moment. And how I do this moment is building a habit of how I do the next moment. So how I am in this very moment, if I can drop all of my urgency and resistance and just allow myself to be exactly where I am right now, can I do that? Can you do that? Can I allow my finances to be exactly as they are right now? Can I allow my relationships to be exactly as they are right now? Can I drop all of my made up problems that I've narrativized around each one of these so-called symbols of safety? Can I just pause on those for a moment and just say, in this moment right now, is there a threat? Right now, is there something that my circumstance around me is forcing me to do, is urgently calling me to do? Of course, my mind is urgently calling me to do a lot of things. But right now, in this moment, can I just allow myself to feel and just allow myself to say, I'm okay. I'm okay right now. No, I'm like, quite literally, honestly, with pure objectivity, I'm okay right now. And it's like already that just drops a whole lot right there. And now can I lean into that a little bit more? Can I lean into the part of me that's like, yeah, but Ryan, you know that you have this other thing that's hanging over you. Okay, yeah, I know. Thanks for letting me know about that. But in this moment, can I allow myself to be exactly as I am? And I can. And as I do that, I allow myself to experience what it feels like. And this is where I'm just wondering, I'm not trying to tie this to be, the so-called correct interpretation. Not really concerned about that. What I noticed is interesting in Paul's language here is learning the secret of being content or at peace in any given situation. There's some clues that Paul gives us about that, which is that being in Christ, and that circumnavigates that entire passage. So I'm wondering if that's what it's related to, which is another way of saying being rooted in what is eternally true within me. The presence of Christ, the presence of the Spirit, the Comforter, the Advocate, whatever words you want to use there, is the thing that allows me to be okay in each and every moment. And that would make a lot of sense to me, because visually and or imaginatively and or in a felt bodily sense, that is precisely the thing that allows peace to arise when all the interpretations of the problems drop, when all the urgency drops. So I'm just wondering if there's a connection there. And I'm just wondering if there's something that we can practice there. And okay, let me pause there for a second. And Brock, go ahead real quick, but just real brief if you don't mind, because we're nearing time.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna try to be as quick as possible here. Um, so even in the presence of the Lord, the disciples all the time they had all their anxieties and their problems and things, and that was being with him in those moments. I think what a lot of people may feel like is it's like what I was getting in therapy is just taking time away and just doing your breathing techniques and stuff like that, and like, okay, you're okay at this moment, and like you're safe, you're in a safe space. Um, but I don't think a lot of people are going to feel and think like, okay, I'm good to go, because that anxiety is just going to be there right after. I think it's got to be through a longer process of um, of fasting and truly just having that devotion, because if not, that it's going to be there, brother. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's a good thought there. That's worth discussing, and I wonder if you and I could discuss that at another time, maybe. Um, there's a lot to say on both sides of what you just said right there. Um, I don't know how many Christians you've seen fast themselves into state of peace. Um, I haven't got to have the joy of seeing that. If you have, that's great. I will say, one of the things that you touched on that's worth noting is that, as noted by several of the disciples, and what we know from history as well, is that a primary reason. Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, we can chat later on that. But just is worth noting the point that you brought up about the disciples. I mean, I appreciate that you said that as it relates to, okay, they're in the physical proximity of Jesus. 100% on your point that this is a process. It's a process of unlearning, which is to say, metanoia is unlearning, which we very unfortunately, or some translit very unfortunately put as repent, which is a very unfortunate translation. Metanoia is unlearning. It is shifting the mind that you're operating with. So the process of metanoia, the process of changing our minds, of being transformed, as it were, is the process of shifting the mind that we're working with, shifting the dominant mind that we're operating from. And what we see with the disciples is a perfect picture of what we all do too. We're in the presence of that which is the Christ, and yet you remember that all of the disciples, now, okay, no, I won't say all, several of them very clearly had all of their own interpretations of what should and shouldn't happen. You remember? And it's hilarious how much it lines up with this, because they have their interpretations of what the problem is, the Roman Empire, and they have their interpretation of what Jesus needs to do, crush them. And when that doesn't start to go the direction they want it to go, they get incredibly nervous. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. They, like us, we have all of our own interpretations of how life needs to go, of how it should go, of what Jesus needs to do in my life, of what God needs to do in my life. We have all these interpretations, all these judgments that take us out of being able to just be where we are right here and opening up literally to just this moment right now. And to be able to say, what if I just dropped all of my interpretations of this moment right now? What would happen? And of course, it's hard because we love our interpretations and we love our judgments and we love our opinions, right? So it's hard. Okay, but that's a good point. I appreciate you bringing that up. Okay, let's hop down to practices. Okay, we only have 15 minutes here, which is okay. So I have an in-class practice here, and then a very short type of reminder thing that we can do throughout the week. And of course, I'm doing it with you. And then we have something, a second practice that either we get to in class or afterwards. But let's do this one first. So this is so simple. It almost, and I want to just remind all of us, a lot of what we're doing here feels like it's not doing anything sometimes, and that's okay. Well, one, there's a lot of reasons for that, but two, it's so simple. And because it's so simple, part of our mind often goes, I bet I need to do more. I bet I need to figure out a whole slew of, different things that I could bring in here to make this more complicated and difficult and complex and feel a lot cooler when I tell people about it. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't feel too cool to tell somebody that you just sat there in complete stillness for just a few minutes. You know what I mean? Okay, so step number one, this is the orientation of yourself and your body to look around, and it feels ridiculous, I know, but what you're doing at the physiological level and through the eyes, what you're doing is you're reminding yourself, I'm safe. You're just reminding yourself. So you're looking around and you're reminding yourself that where I'm inhabiting, the space that I'm inhabiting, and this is where I put in here space and time. Where I'm inhabiting in space and time right now, I'm okay. There's nothing that wants to kill me. There's nothing that wants to hurt me emotionally, physically, etc. Okay. So now the body can go, okay, all right, cool. I'm safe for a second. I hear you that I'm safe for a second. Okay. So now just silently name, and if you do this with me here, silently name several things about the room and your current state in space and time that you can appreciate. Just several things. Like this is super easy. There's so many things about this room that I appreciate. There's so many things about this moment in space and time that I appreciate. I mean, I could easily get to 10, 15 just real fast. So, okay, what that's doing, what that's doing. And because the recognition of appreciating where you are, the recognition of saying thank you for where you are is not just heightening the state of safety that you feel, though it's doing that, but it's allowing you to shift out of the part of your mind that is solely rooted in observing whether you're safe or not, your threat observation mind. So the moment that you shift into, we'll say gratitude, even though I know it's an overused word, that we shift into appreciating where we are in space and time, it shifts our state of mind, quite literally. So like one might surmise that it shifts us into a state of mind that enables a greater deal of peace to be there, okay, and or safety. Okay. So then you can just ask yourself, if I had to name like how I'm feeling right now, like what my current state is in this moment in space and time, how would I name it? And this is just bringing your focus of your attention to your body. And it's allowing your consciousness, your mind, your attention, your focus to be right here, nowhere else. You're not in the future. You're not in the past. You're nowhere else. You're right here. And I would say in this moment, just being where we're at, I feel quite regulated and quite connected. And just, everyone can feel into where you're at, but I can feel a slight tension in my gut. So I just feel into that. Okay. And just name the things as you go. I can feel slight tension in my leg. I've been having a pain in my leg, so I can just feel that tension. And just feel into that. And just say, I notice it. Thank you. Okay. Now, if you can just notice, and probably you would need just a few more minutes to sit in this, but can you notice any thoughts or urges that you have? Whether that's the mind going towards different things that you need to do, or it's maybe just settling down into this and just going to sleep, which sounds awesome, but also just noticing what urge or what is coming up in your body as you're just here in this moment. So we're just going to notice it. So notice the urge to fix, judge, push, resist. Just notice all the things. Okay. Nothing needs to be done. Nothing needs to be corrected. Nothing needs to be fixed. Just allow. This is communication. All of this communication. This is probably the first time today, I'm just guessing, that you've allowed yourself to really connect with where the intelligence of your body is at. Okay. And then when you have more time to do this, the more time you spend right there, probably the more urges you're going to notice. And probably for a lot of us, an urge to get up and do something, urge to say, this is dumb. Nothing is happening. I don't know why I'm doing this. Just notice whatever's coming up here. It's just communicating to you, this is the state that you've put me in. This is the state chronically that you have me in. So you're just noticing it, and it's a form. I don't even need to say it, but I will. It's a form of kindness to notice where you are, because you are the one who has put yourself where you are, not just in space and time, but also in terms of how your body feels. I'm doing this to myself. So my kindness is, hey, I notice how you're feeling. Hey, I'm sorry for, and I'll say for myself here. So like I would say, and how I feel at this moment, I'm sorry for nearly skipping lunch. Today was a crazy day, and I nearly skipped lunch, and I felt it the whole rest of the day. What I felt was, Ryan, you're not listening to your body. Ryan, you're overriding what I need in order so you can X, whatever it is. And I felt that the rest of the day. And so I'm just saying that here to say, I'm not okay with that. I love and honor and appreciate my body. This is a gift that God has given me. And I love, honor, and appreciate it. And I want to feed it well. I want to exercise it well. I want to move it well. I want to breathe into it well. I want to notice it well. I want to befriend it. I want my body to know and feel my appreciation for it. So step 4, I normally end with, you can end with any kind of appreciation, but I normally end with finding whatever came up in my body and just saying thank you to all those parts of my body. Okay, this is similar to what we did last week. I wonder if this week, if maybe the focus with this practice could be, could we just let all the parts of our body know that we really appreciate. We really appreciate what it does for us. And I say all, okay, that would take a long time, but like, okay, any part that comes up in your mind, any part that maybe you feel has been giving you trouble, and isn't it funny that we say it that way? You are the one who's giving yourself trouble. Like your body is reflecting back to you what you are doing. So if something in your body is giving you trouble, it is communicating to you, hey, come on, you're pushing me too much. You're doing too much. You're moving too fast. You're not sitting with me. Whatever it is. Okay, so that right there just allows me to be able to be in a state of this moment in this space and time. Because maybe, I don't know if you're like me, but I have the tendency to be in the future or the past. So I orient myself in this space and time. So now, okay, simple in the moment. Sorry, let me hit this really quick before we get into the next one. Simple in the moment, if you want an easy way of doing that, and maybe we could just practice this just one time each day, if that feels right to you, whatever you want to do. What state am I in right now? Am I forcing or resisting anything in this moment? Just those questions right there. Even if you just wanted to ask the second question, because you'll see it real quick, right? And even I could say this right here. Well, in this state, I feel pretty good. But earlier today, I could ask myself, am I forcing or resisting anything in this moment? And be like, yeah, for sure. I was forcing different elements of work. I was forcing certain things that I felt needed to get done today that don't actually need to get done today, right? So it's just checking in with all the ways in which we are continually putting ourselves into that state of stress that's really unnecessary. Okay, so here is, okay, good. We have 10 minutes here. So I wanted to get to this. If y'all would be willing to walk through this with me here, if you want to take a pen, or if you have this on your laptop and you want to type it in, whatever you want to do. And if you don't want to right now, that's cool. Maybe sometime this week. Really, like, this is something that I think could really help for all of us, myself included, to just get a little bit more clarity on the mechanisms that are running my mind and my life. So question number 1, is there something in your life right now that you have been trying to change, shutting yourself about, trying to avoid, feeling urgency or pressure around? resisting, not liking, wishing it was different. Put in whatever phrase you want to put there. And just go ahead and just ponder for a moment and then put something down. Okay. Number 2, how do you notice forcing or resisting showing up around this? What is it? What does it look like? What is the felt sense of it? And these are just some example words, but you can think of other ones. Well, it feels a lot like, yeah, whichever one there. I'll do this. I'm doing this too. So, okay. Number 3, notice with honesty what you are resisting, forcing, avoiding, fill in the word and why. And this is where you're just really honest with yourself. The reason why I am fill in the blank and then fill in the blank of whatever it is. The reason why I am forcing or avoiding, resisting this is because I'm afraid of, I need, I'm concerned about, fill in the blank, whatever it is. Okay. Next 7 days, what would it look like to just release the outcome of this one thing? And we can say to God, we can just say, just to release the outcome, release the urgency around it, whichever word you chose there, without, of course, disengaging from your life. And this is where, nuance is always here for depending on the thing that you chose in your mind. So I don't even need to tell you, but I will. This doesn't mean giving up responsibility. This doesn't mean becoming passive. This doesn't mean ignoring wisdom. So I know all of y'all are, smart, mature human beings. But it could mean, depending on how it feels to you and what you wrote down, releasing the urgency around it, releasing the shoulding around it, releasing kind of the fear-driven sense of control around it, and allowing God to hold what we can't. And because this part of ourselves, these protector parts of ourselves, they do an incredible job, but they cannot hold it or manage it like we think they can, like we think we can. There's some, of course, hilarity in that. And every time I do that, the irony I feel like that's there is I am, and this will become more clear next week when we talk about these protective mechanisms of our mind. But it's that it becomes real clear to me when I do this, and even just what I was writing down right there, that one, it's so easy to shift right back into this. And I'll say it for myself. Like I've had this on my mind every day for a while now, and especially like this last week because I knew we were talking about this today. But I still found something that I was forcing today, So it's okay. It's okay that this is habitually how our minds have been shaped. And so it's going to take some vigilance. It's going to take some discipline. It's going to take some willingness to walk ourselves into a different pattern. But what I noticed as that came up also was I noticed it right away today. So it didn't take, I mean, like, honestly, like the moment that it came up, I noticed it. So that was helpful. It gets quicker and quicker as it were. But also I noticed the irony here is that the part of me that really believes that I can hold this, that I can do this, that I can sort this, if I'm being honest with myself in a moment, I know I can't. And so that's funny. That's a funny realization to have, right? Especially with things that we've been resisting, forcing, controlling our whole lives. Like what if just a moment of honesty here in a state of, safety and stability as we are right now, and this is what it takes, so hear me say this, if we did not do that first exercise and you came to this, I bet you would experience it differently. And maybe you can try that later, because what you'll probably notice, because I've noticed this, is that if you're not in a state of safety and calm and peace in the moment that you do this, your mind's going to be like, I think I'm fine. I think everything I'm doing makes a lot of sense, It makes a lot of sense how I'm trying to sort my finances, maybe that's not something I really need to look at, because of course it has a vested interest in making sure that it keeps protecting you in that way. It has a vested interest in making sure that you feel safety through your management of whatever it is, right? So I just noticed as we did that first practice, and then we're in a state of a lot more, we've shifted our mind. I can notice, I can say, you know what, Ryan, that's pretty silly that you thought that you could sort that anyway, right? Okay, so now it allows me to just let go of what wasn't mine anyway. And now I just have a lot less urgency around this thing for me. Okay, and let me just hit number 5. Yeah, gently name it. Okay, filling your mind. Okay, release out. Yeah. Oh, okay. I just walked right through that. Okay, very clear. Important at the bottom. This is not a test of faith or a test of your surrendering abilities. Let's not take this. We're not trying to test ourselves. We're not trying to test the quality of our faith. It has nothing to do with that. This is an experiment, or if you want to, this is an experiment or a practice in reducing threat, so that wisdom, peace, safety can return, right? That's all it is. That's all we're trying to do here. So allow it to be as simple as it needs to be. Okay, let me pause there for a moment. How did y'all feel around that practice right there? How did that feel to y'all? Any, either in the chat, thumbs ups, any words anyone wants to share? Okay, thanks for the thumbs up. That feels good. Yeah, Donnie, do you have something?
Yeah, so it gave me a chance to relax and to free my mind of the physical pain, free my mind from the physical pain that my body's enduring right now because of the issues that I have going on. By being in this room and looking at pictures of my wife, my grandkids, my daughters, my father-in-law, and it allowed me to just, be in a state of just feeling safe. And so I like this practice, and I'm going to continue to do it.
Thanks, Donnie. Appreciate that. Yeah, we're with you. I know. I bet a lot of us have different things on our minds, don't we? Okay. Leah, you noted feeling less stretched actually because the thing I felt pressure about is finding time to consistently use these exercises. Okay. Feel urgency to fix everything. Okay. Now, thanks for that, Leah. That feels really that feels like a really important, well, certainly important insight for you, and probably an important insight for all of us, because we can feel that too. So I wonder as you sat with that for a moment, and as you allowed the urgency around that to drop a little bit, I wonder what you felt, or I wonder what you would feel if you would do that. Like, you just, even what I hear right there is, I wonder if there's a way in which you could drop the need or the urgency to even do these exercises. And I really mean that, because again, how we do them is way more important than what we're doing. And in that sense, it would be more important, it would be more helpful in a way, probably, for your body to drop the need to do any of these exercises, and thus to take that off your shoulders, to take that weight off of you, than to feel the weight of continually trying to figure out time to do this and it just not working out, because that feels stressful. I mean, that feels stressful to me too. So I don't know how that feels with you there, but there is a certain irony, a paradox with this, and it's something that I really appreciate, but it's something that does take discernment and wisdom, and which I know all of you can do in your own ways. And what I've noticed is the irony around relaxing into this moment in space and time where I am right now. And this is exactly what we're going to talk about next week, is because everything that has been trained in our minds tells us that's not a great idea. Like, even this thought of, yeah, but like, I've got to do these exercises. And it's like, isn't that interesting? It's like, but you don't, because you're currently in a state where you're okay. So there's nothing to do. There's nothing to go and solve. There's nothing to sort right now. Just right now. We're giving ourselves permission right now. not for the rest of our lives, as it were. And the reason why we say that is to say that there's parts of our mind that are not cool with what we're doing right now. And that's worth noting. And they're really valuable, excellent parts of our mind that are like, I'm not too keen on you feeling safe right now, because that may mean that you stop trying. That may mean that you stop having motivation. That may mean that you stop trying to improve yourself. Anything that relates to something that a part of your mind knows is really valuable to you, like feeling worthy, like feeling like you're valuable, like you're worth something, and then we just stop and say, you know what, I'm okay right now. It's like, no, you're not. This is not going to go well. You've got to keep improving yourself. You've got to do better. You've got to prove yourself to people around you. And so this is where there's mechanisms in our mind that maybe, and I'm just talking in general right now, Lee. I'm not talking directly to you, as it were, but I appreciate what you said there. Just open this up. Um, Maybe that's part of what wants to arise here, or that's part of what wants to come up, is when I sit still in a sense of safety. That's where the question was, what comes up for me? And I mean, I know for me, not just my to-do list comes up, but a very felt sense of panic, like a felt sense of that I have to sit with, a felt sense of, man, this almost doesn't feel good. It's almost like there's a part of me that's like, safety equals danger. And I really mean that. Like, I think there's a mechanism in most of our minds, a lot of our minds in general, that is safety equals danger. And you can just hear with me the paradox of what that feels like in the body, the confusion, the contradiction. Because when you sit with that, then it's the feeling of, well, then what do I do? Because doing a lot of things and trying to do a lot of things doesn't feel great either. So now I kind of feel stuck. Perfect. Sit with the stuckness and just allow that to be there, and allow the stuckness to be as big as it needs to be. Allow the contradiction to be as big as it needs to be. And I just keep finding with myself that safety always opens up space for what needs to be heard to be heard. And sometimes what needs to be heard doesn't feel great, in both in our body and in our mind. And sometimes it is a thought of, man, I've been doing everything I've been doing my whole life, trying to feel like I'm valuable. So sitting down and allowing myself to feel value, that feels like a cheap shortcut. And it also feels like I have been wasting my whole life. And that doesn't feel great either. So it's like safety opens up the space for these little lies. And I hesitate to use that word because it sounds so strong. But for these little untruths, these little interpretations, maybe I should say, for these little interpretations to come to the surface. But what's so beautiful about it is that the safety is unfazed by what is coming to the surface. It can hold all of it. And what's worth noting there is that if one wants to equate that at the moment with that which is the infinite advocate counselor within you, that is always for you, that is always holding all of the things within you and with you, however you want to word that, all of these things can come to the surface if we just allow ourselves to be in that state. And it's almost like, it almost has the feeling to me of reconciliation. It has the feeling of like parts coming home. It has the feeling of like little prodigal thoughts, little prodigal feelings coming back home. Yeah. Okay. I'll pause there. Sorry, I went over time here. Appreciate you opening that up for us, though, Leah. Okay, Brock, I apologize. We're out of time here. So,
Not a
just a quick
problem, man.
Okay, I lost. If he's talking, I lost it.
Oh no, I stopped when you said, "Oh, we're cutting out of time." My bad, brother.
Oh no, you're good. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I
Something
was like,
happened with my audio anyway, so I just thought I lost you. So, um, here, hey, you and I will find a time to chat. All right, Brock.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This is my favorite class so far, man. I
Well,
appreciate
cool,
you.
man. I appreciate that. I'm glad it's resonating. Okay. All right. Everyone else, appreciate all of you. Do we feel okay at the moment?
Yeah, I
Okay.
hope everybody has
Semi,
a
kind
good
of,
night,
kind of
man.
not, maybe.
Thank you all.
Okay. The good news is whatever you're feeling is perfect for the moment. So that's good news. Just sit with that. All right. Appreciate you guys. We'll be in touch. We'll talk to you later. Okay. Goodbye.